Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to carry on the Inaccuracies and Inaccuracies of Prehistoric Park series. Today, we're going to look at episode 2, but before we do that, I'd like to have a look at what I missed or didn't mention in the first episode. A lot of these were pointed out by viewers, so I'm really thankful. Let's get into it. The first thing I missed was pointed out to the viewer, Huan Hu Si, sorry if I mispronounced your name, and it was that the ornithomimus depicted in the show is an Ornithomimus velox, as seen in this supplementary material for the show. This is inaccurate, as Ornithomimus velox is not from Hell Creek and is not as big as depicted in the show. Another thing I missed is something that I figured out myself, and it was that the T-Rex in the Prehistoric Park series is missing extra oral tissue or lips. And in recent times, it has become more apparent that most, if not all, theropod dinosaurs had some form of extra oral tissue or lips. I could and probably will go into more depth into the theropod lip debate in a future video. Another thing I missed was pointed out by the viewer Roberto Castillo. Sorry if I mispronounced your name again. In the first episode, I pointed out how it is inaccurate that the Nyctosaurus is shown in Hell Creek, and that only the Asjarkiterosaurs, like the Quetzalcoatlus, were around in the Maastrichtian. But it turns out, while I'm correct in saying that the specific species of Nyctosaurus would have been extinct and not in Hell Creek, fossil remains of other Nyctosaurids were discovered in the Maastrichtian, in places like North Africa and South America. Finally, the last thing I got wrong in the first episode is that I spelt Triceratops porosus horribly wrong. I don't know how this happened, and it was probably autocorrect, or the fact I didn't check twice while editing. Either way, I'll try to reduce the amount of errors like this in future videos. Thank you to the viewers for pointing out these things I missed and providing me with constructive criticism. It really helps me a lot, and it allows me to improve my content as a content creator and allows me to expand my knowledge of prehistory. Thank you. I'd also like to point out that I mentioned in the video that the Triceratops and Tyrannosaurus rex have ontogeny. While this is correct, my wording of the sentence wasn't really the best. As it turns out, every animal has ontogeny, it's just more drastic in certain animals like the Triceratops and the T-Rex, as seen in the fossil record. Now that I have addressed what I missed in the last episode, we can start to look at episode 2 of Prehistoric Park. Episode 2 of Prehistoric Park is titled A Mammoth Undertaking and takes place in the Ice Age of Siberia. And as the title implies, the main creature of this episode is the woolly mammoth. But it isn't the first animal to be seen in the episode. This animal is the cave bear. Now, the first inaccuracy comes in the fact that the episode takes place 10,000 years ago, near the end of the last ice age, and when a lot of ice age megafauna became extinct. Now, the cave bear became extinct 24,000 years ago. This means that the cave bear seen in the episode should have been dead for up to 14,000 years. Nigel does point this out, however, but oddly doesn't opt to save the species, which is sad because cave bears are amazing creatures. I'd like to note that the narrator says that the cave bear is around 13 feet tall. In real life, cave bears would have reached up to 11 plus feet, but this animal could have just been a very tall cave bear due to individual variation. But the overall appearance of the bear is quite accurate, though I would like to say it is missing a lot of the body fat these bears were put on during the winter. But, as pointed out earlier, this is near the end of the Ice Age, where a lot of the megafauna were starving and dying. So this cave bear could have been the last of its species and in a state of starvation. In recent times, cave bear remains were discovered frozen in ice, and it looks quite similar to the cave bear in Prehistoric Park. So overall, they did a really good job with the depiction. The next animal seen in the show is the target animal, the woolly mammoth. There are two alone mammoths seen in the segment. One of them named Martha and her sister. You may think this is odd, as mammoths are herd animals, but for 8,000 BC or 10,000 years ago, this is sadly accurate, as the end of the Ice Age saw the reduction of the large mammoth steppe and the rise of a lot of snow and dense forest. These are bad for the woolly mammoth, and their numbers declined fast. So unfortunately, seeing two struggling mammoths is accurate. One of the mammoths has been speared by hunters, who later come back but are fended off by Nigel and his crew. This again is unfortunately accurate, as human hunting was a contributor to the mammoth's extinction. But overall, the appearance of the mammoths in the show is very accurate, as we have a very complete and good fossil record of these animals, We have their bones, along with wall and frozen corpses, which gives us a good look at what these magnificent animals look like. Behaviour, however, is speculation. We base what we think their behaviour is on their modern relatives, like African Asian elephants. Using these extant animals, we can infer that mammoths were very social creatures and lived in large herds with a matriarchal structure, which is seen later in the show, when Nigel travels to the mammoth's prime era, where the mammoth steppe is healthy and large, and the animals, like mammoths, are thriving. They're shown in a large herd, with babies showing accurate ontogeny, and with a matriarchal structure, with outcasted males attempting to find mates. This section of the show would probably be a better place to show the cave bear, as they would have been in larger numbers unless it was winter, where they would be in hibernation. Some animals have small cameos in the episode, such as the cave hyena and wolves, which were around at the time, and were played by real and extant hyenas and huskies. This is inaccurate as the extant and extinct variant would have been different and have quite major differences, but for the purposes of the show, the live-action animals serve to be really effective and proves to be a really suspenseful scene. The final animal to be seen in this episode is the Elasmotherium, which was a large prehistoric woolly rhinoceros. The Elasmotherium in Prehistoric Park is quite accurate. It's displayed with one large horn, which, considering its large ridge of backbones, which in modern animals is used to support large muscles, which in turn support large and heavy facial structures, and cave art of the time, this horn is quite accurate. The reason we can't say for sure is because structures like this horn and things like rhino horns aren't made of bone, but are made of keratin, which is not easily fossilized, causing us to have to speculate and infer based on evidence that we have. Another thing the show got right is the Elasmotherium's ability to run fast. Surprisingly, with its heavy build and large weight, the Elasmotherium was capable of fast speeds. This is because of its horse-like gait. When chasing Nigel in the show, the Elasmotherium is capable of fast speeds, which is generally quite accurate as the animal had a horse-like gait. The colour is unknown, but the speculated colour seen in the show is quite plausible. This episode was probably the best for accuracy, as generally we have a very complete and well-preserved fossil record, including bones, as well as preserved bodies, allowing the filmmakers to give a very accurate look into this time period. Even things like the change of the environment are really nicely done. As Nigel enters the Ice Age in its prime, it's full of grassland with little tree cover and not a lot of snow, which is accurate to the mammoth steppe, which was a large grassland that spanned over Eurasia at the time. It provided the perfect conditions for megafauna like the mammoths to live, but as the Ice Age slowly came to a close, the ice sheet started to retreat, causing it to snow heavily. These changes allowed trees to return to the mammoth steppe, causing very dense forests with a lot of snow. This meant food the megafauna relied on was covered in snow, making it harder for them to eat. And the dense tree cover made it hard for the large herds of these animals to move. This was a contribution to their extinction. This is perfectly depicted in the show, as it shows it happen and the effects on the local wildlife. With that, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you don't mind, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe, like, comment and share. I'll see you guys later.